Whoa, how you doing? This is Sam Tolley. Just had a morning walk in the mountains with my wife and my dog. Been reflecting on a few things. And I've been debating on how I want to entitle this video. Whether it is, why are we concentrating on a pimple and ignoring stage 4 cancer? Or there are white races out there, plenty of them, but they're not who you think. So anyway, who knows? By the time I'm through, maybe I'll decide something entirely different. But I really want to try to talk to some black liberals if they're willing to listen. And that's been the big problem. Many of them just won't listen because they're so angry, and the mere mention of conservatism or Republicans or people that aren't Democrats alienate their brain. They don't even want to think about it. They don't want to talk about it. They've been, in my opinion, programmed. It's almost like a Pavlovian reflex. When you talk about conservatism or republicanism or anything, even capitalism, they're being programmed to think differently. But let me just get into my thoughts and see where they lead. When I say there's white races, there really are. And I know that a lot of my liberal friends agree that they're white races. And they are out there and they are doing major damage. The problem is, these liberals don't know who these white races are. And they work in conjunction with black races. And they all have their own agendas. But their agendas keep black folks down. I mean, think about it. If you can think with your intellect instead of your emotions, black people were doing far better in Reconstruction as a whole. When I mean far better, educational-wise, moving ahead-wise, all that stuff, than they are now. Black people were doing better in the 50s during the Jim Crow era than they are now. I mean, I think in the 50s, the black two-parent family was like almost 80%. I know the Patrick Moynihan's study on the black family, which he got all kind of hell from in 1965, was talking about the fact that only 25% of black children are only being raised by a single parent. And he called hell behind that. He called hell behind that from Republicans and Democrats, white people and black people, because he thought that the black family was in danger. And he was right. Now, the black two-family or the two-parent family, and when I say two parents, make no mistake about it, I am always talking about a man and a woman. I never consider two men or two women to be parents or married. So when I say two parents, man and a woman. At any rate, right now only about 28% of black children are being raised by a man and a woman family structure. Moynihan was right. It's genocide. It's crazy. As far as the family is concerned, the black family. But the white liberals, and those are the real racists, never talk about it. Oh, Don Lemon mentioned something about black kids once. Obama mentioned something about black kids. But when these people bring these things up, they don't pursue it. It's not a continuous thing. And this is where, when I'm talking about focusing on a pimple versus stage 4 cancer comes into play. This narrative that LeBron James and people like him say that the police are out to kill off black people, that black people are in danger all the time of the police. If that was true, that would only be a pimple in as far as the destruction of black lives are. But that's not even true. That's a lie, that's a false narrative. That is something that is perpetuated on black people, and you need to understand why. Because they would have you think that the worst problem facing the black community is the police. This is what white liberals would have you thinking. Now, if you think analytically, logically, and not emotionally, you can put 2 and 2 together. Okay? If the police are the worst problem that black people are facing, according to these liberals, why are these liberals also wanting to take away guns from the average citizen? I mean, if we don't have law enforcement at all in the black communities or any communities, and we don't have guns, our Second Amendment rights, how are we supposed to protect ourselves? Are we supposed to depend on these same white liberals, run by now one Joe Biden, who in the 90s helped usher in the most racist law, or maybe it wasn't the most racist, but the law that incarcerated more black people than anybody? Are we supposed to depend on people like him to take care of us if we have no police or protection? See, the white liberal would have you think they care about black people. They always foster this notion that they love and they want to take care of black people. I mean, it's amazing to me. When I was growing up, because of the gatekeepers and the news media, these, by and large, are the gatekeepers. These are the people who are actually supposed to be the referees. They are supposed to call the balls and strikes. They are supposed to tell us when different sides of government are not operating the way they're supposed to, regardless of political party. They're not even supposed to be affiliated with parties. But they've become gatekeepers. By and large, the majority of them work for organizations whose purpose is to keep us under control. And they foster a narrative that does so. And I'm gonna give you one example. For 3 years, they said Donald Trump was in bed with Russia, that he was a Russian stooge, a Russian this, a Russian that. For 3 years of his presidency, they did that to us, knowing all the time that it was a lie. And when they finally had this hearing, when they finally brought all those Democratic lawyers who were trying to show that he was a Russian stooge, it came out that he was nothing. Now, these same Democrats, these same white liberal Democrats know that Hillary Clinton sold, as the Secretary of State, made it possible for Russia to get uranium from us. That Bill Clinton got, I think, over $1 million from a speech in Russia. That Hillary Clinton had these 33,000 emails that were government property on a private server, and that the FBI let her completely off the hook. Why? Because she's a white liberal. And they're all white liberals, and they take care of each other. And not only do they take care of each other, they want to continuously have black folks think they need a boogeyman. They need a boogeyman to keep you angry at. And the best boogeyman they can come up with is the police. They'll use the police as the boogeyman. You can keep them, the police hates black people. I'm not going to even go through a bunch of these cases. Now, granted, there are cases where the police were bad and they need to be held accountable, or were held accountable, or should have been held accountable. But that's far and few in between. And if you count statistically, it's a pimple. It's nothing compared to the destruction that was happening to the black family and black people by and large in America. Now, if these white liberals who claim that they love black people, they want to take care of black people, were really serious, they would have never let the border just go wide open and let all these illegals come in. Why did they let the illegals come in? The same reason why they're against voter identification. And the biggest lie they come up with about voter identification is say it's racist for black people. And if you quit thinking emotionally and think intellectually, you have to ask yourself why. Are not black people as good as white people, Asian people, Hispanic people? Aren't we supposed to be adults and be able to read and think for ourselves? Who said we can't get identification? That is the dumbest thing in the world. You need ID to do everything. You can't get on the airplane without ID. You can't check a book out the library without ID. I mean, you can't buy a can of spray paint or antihistamine without ID. Or liquor, tobacco, drugs from a pharmacy. I mean, come on. So in other words, if we were to take them seriously, and if they're truthfully, then they're saying that black people are stupid and they're children and they need somebody to take care of them. Otherwise, they're playing black people for fools because they want to control the vote. Now, this idea that it's helping black people is a lie. Black people make up 13% of the population. So 13% of the population is supposed to expect the other 87% of the population to play fair. Now, if you bring in a bunch of illegals and let them vote, if you have no voter identification and anybody can vote, then your vote doesn't count. Your vote can be offset. You ask the question, well, why would we care about illegals? Or why would they want illegals to come in and vote? Simple. Illegals, and particularly these southern countries, make far less money than you do in America. They would do anything to get here and to get the opportunity that the gatekeepers try to say we do not have. It's not that we don't have the opportunities. They want to dilute the opportunities. When President Trump was closing the border, when President Trump told Mexico and Canada, either play fair or we're not going to trade with you anymore, and he made businesses or gave businesses incentives to come back to America, he was producing an economy that was beyond anything we've had before. There were jobs up the yin yang and everybody was making money. If he could prove that everybody can make money, including minorities, without government assistance, then they don't need all these lifelong politicians that want to sit over there and talk about how much we need them. That's the last thing these people wanted. The last thing they wanted was somebody that wasn't in Washington forever to come in and show them how it could be done. And that's exactly what he was doing. He was producing, and with Tim Scott, opportunity zones in minority areas where they were putting in money to businesses to help these folks get employed. We had no unemployment, barely, until this COVID thing came in. Now, this COVID thing is another thing. But nevertheless, the gatekeepers at the behest of the plantation herders and the oligarchs that are controlling all of them folks couldn't have that. It was disrupting the status quo. So if you bring in more illegals and you flood the minority neighborhoods with more illegals, there are more needy people. And with less jobs, now that Mr. Biden is in control and he wants to shut down drilling, that's, and let me tell you something about the drilling and the oil. People say, okay, the gas might go up a little bit. No, the gas is going to go up a lot. But see, not just your gas when you pump in your car gas, the trucks that bring in the groceries, the gas goes up. The trucks that bring in furniture and supplies and everything goes up. So what happens? They increase the prices. Who pays the price increase? You do. When Biden's talking about raising the capital gains tax or raising taxes on corporations, corporations don't pay taxes. They push it through in costs. Who does the cost go to? It goes to you. So all this mess about, being more equitable is nonsense. It's just like when Obama had Obamacare and he was talking about how you can keep your doctor and you still have your doctor, and how a family of four isn't going to pay over about, $2,500 a month? All of it was a lie, and they knew it was a lie. And by the way, Obama is a racist. He's just a black one. And they all work together. The black races, the white races. Now I'm talking about the ones that have the money, the echelon, allegorical, highfalutin races. Because they really don't care about you. They care about one thing, and that's power. They don't even care about the money. Because if you have the power, the money will follow. The money always follows power. So as long as they have control and they have the power, they'll get the money. Now let's get back to some of the things that's killing black folks, or the destruction of the black family. Like I said, police are low on the totem pole. Them flooding the border, them taking away job opportunities, these white racist liberals, with the help of black racist liberals, that hurts the black family. The schools hurt the black family, and it hurts all the families. When you have these schools that you have teachers unions that only need to take care of themselves, that they really don't care about the student. When I was still living in California, they passed the dumbest law I ever heard of. And this was a law that said if you didn't graduate from high school, going back 10 years, you can get your diploma. Just like that. What good is that? That makes a high school education worthless. When I graduated from high school in the 1970s, you could actually get a job that had a future that would take care of a family. Nowadays, you can't get that. Nowadays, a high school education means nothing. And by the way, this talk about a living wage and $15 an hour minimum wage, that sounds fantastic. But that's a destruction for the black family too, and all families. Because businesses, just because some government official raises up the rate of employment, the cost has to go up somewhere. What is the most major cost of any employer? Employees. If they can get rid of a body, if they can automate something, then they don't have to pay health care. They don't have to pay wages. They don't have to pay vacation pay. They don't have to pay any of that stuff. So more and more places are automated. When I go to Walmarts and places like that now, I'm seeing more, and in Vallarta, more and more self-service checkouts. You get the self-service checkouts, it's not for your convenience. It's to get rid of bodies. It's to keep costs down. People need to know when they're getting hosed. So these politicians, that they run through some higher wage thing, it makes them look at us. We're helping you get a living wage. Well, they did that a couple of years ago in LA. And when they did it, all the Walmarts in LA shut down. These politicians don't care about us. They care about power. And you keep electing the same stupid politicians, the same stay in power, and they run their mouth, but they don't accomplish anything for us. That is the hurting all families, especially the black family. But as far as death, not even close. Black on black crime, that's one of the closest. Over 90% of black folks are dying at the hands of other black people. You know, it kills me when I see the news and they're always looking for some white person to shoot a black person, especially a policeman. These gatekeepers, they love those stories, but they don't like the stories about the little girl sitting on her, porch, drinking lemonade, getting shot in the head, or some kid in the house doing homework getting shot in the head, or all these or like people getting shot by the bushel every week in Chicago, and now all the crime rates going up in LA and New York and every place else because the police don't have an incentive to take care of it. And by the way, it doesn't take a brain science just to figure it out that when you destroy the family, it's like in the black family, where only 28% of kids are being raised by a father in the home mostly. You got all these kids that are being raised by the streets, or mothers that just trying to take care of them and can't do both jobs. And then you got a society that's telling folks in these public schools that you were an anomaly, that you were an accident of nature, that you really aren't anybody. When you die, you're just dead, that you have no accountability because there is no God. What does a kid have to look forward to? Why should they care? And so when they're treated like dirt, they're told that they're nothing but dirt. The education they get is nothing but dirt. And then they're told that the police are their enemy. Why would they cooperate? They weren't taught manners. They're not expected to be respectful. When I was in California, they had a law, another stupid law, where you couldn't kick a disorderly kid out of school. He had to stay in school. They might put him in some intention, but he stayed in school. Now, it sounded like, we're going to keep him in school. They don't care nothing about the kid in school. It's all about the body to collect the money for that day. That's all it is. They don't care. And people wake up and start understanding what's really going on, they'll care. So getting back to black on black crime, this is destroying us. This is, and the fact of it is that the news media and no one wants to talk about it. And they act like it doesn't even exist, or they'll just accept that as collateral damage. But you let one policeman shoot a black person, whether it's justified or not, all hell breaks loose. It's nonsense. That's not even the worst. What's killing off black people more than anything is abortion. What's killing off, Margaret Sanger would be proud. And by the way, all these white liberals, all of them, all these racist white liberals are proponents of abortion. And the majority of Planned Parenthoods are in minority neighborhoods. Now, how could someone that claims they care about you advocate the death of you at the same time and you can't understand what the heck is going on? Abortion. They kill more babies a week, I think, than black babies a week than blacks died in Vietnam, the whole war. In some places, there are more babies being killed in their mother's womb than are being born. We've gotten numb to it. And a lot of my liberal Christian friends talk about, I'm against abortion. I've always been against that. But I never read where they're fighting against it. Never read where they're standing up against it. And I never see them calling out those liberal politicians that they endear themselves with and vote for constantly, telling them to stop it. If the economic policies you think are good, which I think are garbage, and that's why you stated, then why aren't you guys all out there telling them to stop with the abortion? Why aren't you guys out there fighting for vouchers to put kids in decent schools? Schools that matter, schools that really want to educate. Why aren't you guys doing that? Many of you, when I say stuff that you agree with, are silent. Or if you get so angry, you say, yeah, I'm against it. I've always been against it. But I never see where you guys are fighting against it. And it's like you're fighting against yourself. It reminds me of what Jesus said. These people honor me with their hearts, but their lips, but their hearts are far from me. When are you guys gonna stand up and take a stand for the family? Take a stand. And you say you're for black folks, but you put up with having to compete with illegals. You put up with black on black crime. You put up with these folks that they're gonna tax the hell out of you, gonna cut the jobs off, and then sit over there and tell you how much they love you and how much they want to take care of you and how much they say the other guy's racist. I don't get it. It makes no sense to me. But I'm gonna tell you what I think the worst thing that happened to the black family, and probably all families in America, but I think it's affecting the black family more because the black family, particularly in the slavery times, depended on this more. And we look for deliverance more, at least our ancestors did. And I'm thinking that it's the abandonment of God. That is the number one killer of the black family. That is the number one destructive force of black people in America. The abandonment of God. Why else? How else can you explain 72% unwed parents, kids being raised by the streets? Why else could you explain tolerating abortion clinics all up and down your neighborhood and gang violence and the perpetuation of poverty? Listen, do you think for 1 minute that these liberals, these white liberals, will let cities burn and stuff like that if there wasn't a profit for them in the long run? When they talk about people being angry and they're letting them riot in the streets and all that crap, have they ever rioted in Kamala's neighborhood or Joe's neighborhood or Schumer's neighborhood? Any of them places where these folks stay? Of course not. They're not gonna have that. They don't even let a bunch of folks up in their house area. They're not gonna have that. They have the power and they're gonna control you. And the power they get is because we, black folks, by and large, have abandoned our position with God. When I say abandoned, I mean put total trust. Oh, we have folks that go to church and say, yeah, Lord, I love you. I love the Lord. But Jesus said, if you love me, keep my commandments. Are we doing that? Jesus said that God said that he knelt, babies were knit in the womb by him. How on earth could we trust and vote for anyone that would turn against God or try to destroy God's creation? In Genesis, he said he made man in his own image. He said a man should leave his parents and cleave to his wife. How could Christians, disciples of Christ, I should better say, how could they even consider voting for people that endorse sodomy, that endorse the destruction of the image of God and transgenderism? Why would we even consider that? Oh, I see a lizard behind me. Whoa. Too bad one of my grandsons got a iguana, another lizard. We can have a neighbor, a friend. Oh well, so much for the distraction. If you trust in God, I could never get past this pastor I heard. This black pastor was talking to a white pastor, and they were talking about abortions and all this stuff. And this black pastor told the white pastor, yes, I know all that stuff is true, but I got to vote for what I think is best for my people. And I've always thought that trusting in God is what's best for your people. Not trusting in some politicians that have openly stated that they're antithetical to God. Why on earth would we trust in people who openly oppose God. And we're talking about walking by faith. Walking by faith is not voting for somebody who's God's enemy. If anything, we should vote against God's enemy and trust God to make up the difference. Until the black family, by and large, and the black community humbles itself and turns its heart back to God completely, the destruction continues. The destruction continues. And there are people like me that are out there that will tell you exactly what is truth best that we know it. Because we love you, but more importantly, we love God. We're accountable to Him. So you can call us Toms and sellouts and all the other crap that the gatekeepers prompt you to say. We don't care. In the final analysis, we got to account to Him. He's the only voice that matters. And if you're smart, and if you're serious about your walk, His voice is the only one that'll matter to you too. And you'll quit making excuses based on pigmentation, based on stereotypes, based on propaganda, based on all that nonsense. You will focus on Him. Then you will see the white racists for who they are. You'll see the black racists for who they are. But more importantly, you'll start seeing the Lord for who He is. And He is the only one that can make a difference. This is Sam Tolley. I'm out.